Okay, today is Sunday, 8th of March 2026, 11 a.m. Temperature 19 degrees centigrade, which I think is about 66 Fahrenheit. Another very pleasant, cool, sunny springtime day, and the amaryllis are looking quite good in that pot there. So this is number 4 of the Basics series, and I'll try to explain my views on the types of tubs that are suitable for keeping MEDAKA outdoors. Now, I've developed these views based on my experiences in my subtropical climate over, say, the last couple of years. I'm sure there are other aspects might need to be considered if you're keeping MEDAKA outdoors in say, a temperate climate. I'll also say this is my own preferences based on how I like to keep MEDAKA. For example, I'm not interested in bioscopes which sort of integrate MEDAKA with artistically designed planting and driftwood. I just like to see small shoals of MEDAKA in their natural habitat of open water, and then I like to get involved into like a day-to-day breeding process. So perhaps starting from the beginning, if you like, from Japanese YouTube videos, which is where I first started learning about how to keep MEDAKA. You often see that the basic tub used is a black plastic storage box called an NV22, which is basically 22 litres, available in all the Japanese homeware and similar stores like that. Now this is a similar box that I got some time ago. It's about 22 litres or 4.5 gallons. It's similar size to the NV22, but it is relatively shallow, with a depth of water about sort of 16 centimetres or 6.5 inches. So say 22 litres or about 4.5 gallons. Now, I mean, it's often said that that sort of shallow depth of water in these tubs is good for MEDAKA because it's about the depth of water usually found in the MEDAKA's natural habitat of the rice fields or rice paddies. That's not really correct. I mean, MEDAKA also thrive in, for example, the deeper water of the drainage channels around the rice fields and in natural streams and rivers. So in a temperate climate, this shallow depth of water in a tub of say 16 centimetres is okay, and perhaps has the advantage of helping keep dissolved oxygen content at optimum levels, but on the other hand might have the problem of freezing solid with this very shallow depth of water in very cold winters, in which case the fish would die. However, it would result in problems in my subtropical climate, which has periods of very, very heavy rainfall in the summer. And summer storms can often produce maybe 10 centimetres of rainfall, which is about 4 inches, in quite a short period. And 10 centimetres of rainfall in a tub with a water depth of 16 centimetres means there's a quick 65% water change in the tub, with rain water, which is obviously lower temperature usually, and has a much lower pH value, which MEDAKA are tough, but sort of large, quick water change is not good for their health, especially if it happens quite frequently throughout the summer. which is why you can see that most of my tubs are around 40 centimeters deep. And consequently, if you got 10 centimeters of rainfall, that would result in only a, say, a 25% water change, very quick water change, which, although not ideal, wouldn't affect the health of the fish so much. And my MEDAKA have no problems thriving and breeding in this depth of water. So when I first started MEDAKA, as I said in one of my previous videos, I started with two of this sort of glazed earthenware flower pots as MEDAKA tubs, because just that's what I had available, and I had miniature water lilies in anyway, and it was quite easy just to seal up the drainage holes and cracks with 2-part epoxy putty. I then converted 4 more of these glazed earthenware flower pots to MEDAKA tubs. So I have now a total of 6. They're all very old, they've all got lots of cracks in, maybe they leak a bit. I think earthenware usually leaks a bit anyway, but they're fine outdoors. Maybe in freezing weather, if I ever had it, so your ice, they might crack, but I don't have that problem in my climate. So there we are, I've got 6 various colours, in interior colours. Now the capacity is between sort of 40 to 50 litres, which I think is about 10 to 13 gallons. And I've found that that sort of volume of water is about right for maintaining good water quality for the MEDAKA quite easily. So when I wanted more tubs, I tried those black storage boxes I showed before, at the beginning of the video, but I didn't like the black colour and they're too shallow, so I got these IKEA Trofast boxes, which are used, I think, for children's toys. So the plastic quality is quite good, but again they're relatively shallow, and with only about 20 litres of water, which is about 5 gallons, it's not so easy to maintain good water quality. So then I found these deeper IKEA Trofast tubs. They've got the same surface area as the smaller tubs, but so they fit in the space. I mean, I've got sort of 6 of those in a row. They fit in the space very nicely, and they've got increased depth, which is good in my climate, and increase up to about 30 litres of water, and so that's much better from the water quality point of view. And what sort of tubs you can get depends obviously on what can be found at a reasonable price. Often it's just a question of improvising whatever can be found in, say, Costco or whatever, the big homeware shops, department stores as in a particular area. But I also have these white plastic trash cans, which are painted them on the outside. The paint stands up reasonably well. There's a much larger capacity, and I use them as grow out tubs if I've got large numbers of fry. Perhaps I'll mention that one time I bought some very cheap, no brand name, black plastic boxes, which were made of recycled plastic. They're so very cheap, and the MEDAKA became unhealthy in those tubs. And I think this may have been because toxins were leaching out into the water from the recycled plastic and poisoning the fish. My guess is probably black recycled plastic maybe more likely to be toxic compared to maybe lighter coloured recycled plastic. Which brings me on to talking about the internal colour of tubs. I think it's generally known that MEDAKA will, to some extent, change the tone of their body colour to match the background colour of their environment. And I mean, this acts, if you like, as a type of camouflage to protect against predators. Therefore, I mean, it's often recommended that many strains of MEDAKA be kept in black colour tubs to really make their colours stand out. However, I found this doesn't apply to the strains of MEDAKA that I have. And I've found that light colour tubs usually provide the best background to display my MEDAKA. Now, possibly this is because my MEDAKA strains don't have much of a pedigree, and the genetics may not allow for the sort of colour change that more well-bred strains might get in a darker background. Yeah, for example, this strain here looks good in a light colour tub. If you put it in a dark colour tub, it'll change to a murky brown colour. And I keep these orange MEDAKA in this dark colour tub because that's what I have available. However, they display better if they're in a neutral colour tub. Now, obviously, these Black Orochi only look good in a light colour tub. Here again, some orange in a dark colour tub. I think they're better in a lighter colour tub, but that's all I've got available to put them in at the moment. Now, these Miyuki, they display okay in both the dark colour tub and the light colour tub, but they only display a sort of their blue sheen colour properly in a lighter colour tub when they're in the sun. A couple more points. I don't use any type of substrate in my tubs. MEDAKA don't need it. It's much easier to siphon out any debris during water changes, and it's also much easier to see if predators like dragonfly larvae might be lurking about at the bottom of the tub. And I don't use any rooted plants. I found that outdoors it's difficult to keep them growing well in a tub, and MEDAKA will deposit eggs on these plants instead of the spawning mops. Sometimes I have a small area of floating plants, but it usually increases the snail problem I have. And MEDAKA much prefer to swim about in the open surface area. Anyway, so can't think of anything else to say, and probably I've rambled on too long already. Okay,